Okay, guys, distance learning week 7. For many of you, congratulations, you've been doing fantastic. Um, your marks are up for the most part, and you can get a good indication of where you're at. Some of you are actually even improving, and your mark will go up. For many of you, I continue to urge you to make sure that you are logging in and trying to get your mark to a better place. Okay. So last week we were able to set ourselves up for the elimination method, which is what we're doing. And then we're actually going to do a short lesson on the distributive law as well. So if you have a linear system, so two different lines, you can solve it by adding or subtracting in order to eliminate a variable. So step one is eliminate one of the variables by adding or subtracting two equations and solve the first variable. So if the coefficient of one is the opposite of the other, so say for instance, we have one that is negative and one that's positive, we add. If we have two of the same, for instance, we're going to subtract. And what that means, basically, if we look at it, is at the end of the day, if we have, say, -2 and +2, to get to 0, we'd add them. If we had, say, +2 and +2, to make them to 0, we have to subtract them, okay? So 2 minus 2, okay? So basically what we're going to do here is we're going to line them up and subtract so that we can more or less get rid of one. So in this case, our job here is going to be to get rid of these x's. And since they're both positive, we can subtract that variable, okay? So we have x plus x, or 5y, sorry, equals 2, and then x plus 3y equals -4. So what we're going to do here is a little bit different than anything we've done before. So now in this case, we're actually going to subtract these two equations, just like we would in a regular subtraction method. And if we did x minus x, we'd have 0. And if we did 5y minus 3y, we'd have 2y. And then if we did 2 minus -4, we'd actually get 6. So in this case, if we want to find out what y is equal to, because now we don't have any x's, we make sure that we divide it by the same coefficient beside the y, and that being 2. So if we did 2y divided by 2, we'd have y. And then if we did 6 divided by 2, we'd have 3. So in that case, we've got y equals 3, and we know that y is equal to 3. And we can sub that in, or sub y equals 3 into either equation. So for this one, let's pick the top one. So y plus x plus 5y equals 2. We know that x plus 5, if we substitute 3 in for the y, which we had in the last column over here, we'd be able to have y 5 times 3 being 15, and then equals 2. We want our x's on one side and numbers on the other, so if we bring over the 15, it becomes negative. And then we have x is equal to 2 minus 15, which is -13. So now we have our x and our y, and our solution, just like we've done all the time in our x and y. Solution also means point of intersection. That means that it's the x being -13 and 3. Okay, sweet. So Here's another example we'll go through. So remember, if we look up at the top, it says if they're the same, if they're different, we add. If they're the same, we subtract. So in this case, you're always also looking for, let's make sure that we're aware, always look for same coefficient, right? Or number beside letter, okay? So if we have the same, it's easy to eliminate that. So in this case here, we've got x minus 4y equals 27, and negative x plus 6y equals negative 37. So once again, we can get rid of our x's, but one is positive and one is negative. So since they're the same, we're going to actually add this whole equation. So it's going to be x minus 4y equals 27, okay? And then we've got negative x plus 6y equals negative 37, okay? And just like we did in the last one, we're going to set this up like we would an equation, okay? Because our job is to get rid of those x's. So we have this equation plus that equation. So if we go to solve that, x plus negative x is going to be 0. Okay? And we have negative 4 plus positive 6 is going to be 2y, or plus 2y. And then we have 27 plus negative 37. So we're subtracting 37, and it's just going to be 10. So then we're going to be left with, since we have no x's, 2y equals 10. And in this case, 2y divided by 2 equals 10 divided by 2, and then y being equal to 5. Our job now, like we've done, is going to be to sub it. So sub y equals 5 into either. So let's do the top one again. We have this equation, and if we sub in 5 into the y spot, we'd have x minus 4 times 5 is negative 20 equals 27. X is then equal to, if we move it to the other side, right? Oh, I apologize. On this side here, 27 minus 37 is negative 10. So it'll be negative 5. I am sorry about that. So if we sub in negative 5 into here, we actually are going to get positive 20. Apologize. And then we have 27, and if we bring that positive 20 to the other side, it's going to be negative. And then we have x equals 7. Okay. Once again, if we put those two in this format, we're going to be left with 7 and negative 5. Okay. We'll do one last one here. So if we look at this equation, the coefficients on the x's aren't the same, but they are on the y's, so we're going to deal with the y's and eliminate. If you notice, they're the same, so those plus signs are the same. So that means we are going to subtract. So we've got 8x plus 8x, plus y equals 27. 3x plus y equals 7. And just like we set up before, we're going to subtract because they're the same. And if we do this straight through, 8x minus 3x is 5x. Y minus y is 0, so it's eliminated. And 27 minus 7 is 7. So in this case, we have 5x equals 7. And in this case, to get x by itself, we have to divide both sides by 5. And x is then equal to 7 over 5. Right? If we do this one over here, we just sub in 7 over 5 into the x position, which makes things a little difficult, but we'll do that second equation. So sub 7 over 5 into second equation. In this case, we're going to use 3x plus y equals 7. And this is a tough one. We're going to get used to how to do this. So 3 times 7 over 5, or 3 over 1, would be 21 over 5, okay? Plus y equals 7. If we had this, we'd move the 21 over 5 to the other side, but 7 minus 21 over 5. This is a super tough one, but we're going to turn this into a number that we can make the same. So it's going to be 35 over 5, subtract 21 over 5. And this being 35 minus 21 being 14 over 5. Okay, and that would be our answer. So our solution here, it's a toughie, and you're not going to get many like this, but it'd be 7 over 5, comma 14 over 5. Okay, so your job here is to complete these 4 questions and hand them in. Thanks.